The room was quiet when they decided I was worth nothing. Not angry quiet. Not tense quiet. It was the kind of calm people use when they think the choice is easy. My mother held her pen like she had done this many times before. My father did not look at me at all. He watched the lawyer's mouth as if my future was just a sound passing through the air. My brother, Lucas, sat beside them. Relaxed. Certain. He had already won. The lawyer explained the documents slowly. He asked if everyone understood. My parents nodded. Lucas smiled. No one asked me anything. When my mother signed, the pen clicked hard at the end. It sounded final. My father followed without reading twice. They slid the papers back like trash pushed off a table. The lawyer cleared his throat and finally looked at me. He waited. I said nothing. My mother told me not to feel bad. She said I would figure things out. My father said life rewarded effort. Lucas did not speak. He did not need to. I nodded. I thanked them. I stood up slowly so they would not see my hands shake. That was the moment I chose to disappear on purpose. After that day, I became something small in their eyes. My parents spoke to me the way people speak to strangers who look tired. Careful. Distant. Kind, but empty. They asked if I was eating well. They asked if I needed help. They never asked what I was doing. Lucas stopped hiding his pride. He talked about growth. Expansion. Legacy. He used those words like they were weapons. When I listened, he leaned back in his chair and smiled. I let him. I moved into a narrow apartment near the edge of town. Thin walls. No visitors. I kept the lights low. I wanted the place to feel temporary, like me. When my mother called, I told her I was trying things. Short jobs. Nothing serious. I added pauses to my voice so she would worry. She filled the silence with advice. I let her. At family dinners, I wore old clothes. I arrived late. I left early. My father watched me with relief, like his choice had been proven right. At night, I worked. Quietly. Carefully. I built something no one could see. Being underestimated was not pain anymore. It was cover. I learned how to look weak without being careless. I took contracts that no one wanted. Fixing broken systems. Cleaning mistakes other people made and ran from. I stayed invisible. I let others take credit when it helped me stay small. Numbers spoke to me clearly. People did not. Numbers never lied to protect their pride. I met Aaron through a problem no one else could solve. He noticed how I listened before I spoke. He noticed I never rushed. We worked together without promises. Without dreams. Just outcomes. Money came slowly at first. I hid it. Reinvested it. I made sure nothing about my life changed on the outside. When Lucas bought a new car, my parents sent me pictures. I replied with one word. Nice. Hello everyone, and thank you for being here. Before the story continues, take a second to tell me where you're watching from in the comments. I truly enjoy seeing how far these stories travel and hearing from you directly. One important note, some elements in this story have been fictionalized for educational and storytelling purposes, and any resemblance to real people or settings is coincidental. That said, the message I'm sharing is meaningful, and I hope it speaks to you. My father called one night and asked if I was okay. I said yes. He sounded relieved. That was when I understood something important. They did not want me to rise. They wanted me to stay where they left me. That was fine. I was not building a future for their approval. I was building silence so loud it would crush them later. Years passed, but to them, I stayed the same. Same voice. Same small life. Same disappointment. They stopped worrying about me completely. That was the gift. People watch problems. They ignore what they believe is finished. Behind closed doors, I learned patience like a skill. I learned when to wait and when to strike. I bought assets through names they would never trace back to me. I avoided praise. I avoided attention. Lucas stepped deeper into the company. He spoke like a leader. He acted like a child given keys too early. My father trusted him because he looked confident. I watched the cracks form. At a holiday dinner, my mother offered to pack food for me to take home. I thanked her. Lucas laughed. I smiled. That night, I signed my first major agreement. Long-term. Locked. Silent. I sat alone in my apartment afterward and did not celebrate. Celebration was loud. I needed quiet. I needed them comfortable. Because comfort makes people careless. And careless people sign anything put in front of them. The first sign of weakness in my father came suddenly. His voice lost its edge. His hands shook when he lifted a cup. The company stumbled. Lucas blamed the market. The market was not the problem. My mother called me more often. She asked if I could come by. I said yes, slowly, like it cost me effort. When I visited, the house felt heavy. The walls were filled with things that had once excluded me. I walked through them like a ghost. My father talked about legacy again. About blood. About responsibility. He did not look at me when he spoke. I listened carefully. I memorized everything. Before I left, my mother slipped cash into my pocket. Her hand trembled. She whispered that it was just in case. I closed my fingers around it and said thank you. I never spent that money. That night, I ordered the first valuation. I did it through layers. No names. No emotion. Just truth measured in numbers. When the confirmation email arrived, I stared at it for a long time. They still thought I had nothing. And I was finally ready to prove how dangerous that belief was. I did not tell my family about the valuation. I let them talk around me instead. About stress. About debt. About how hard things had become. My father's company missed targets for the first time in years. Lucas blamed staff. Staff blamed Lucas. No one blamed the truth. I stayed useful but harmless. I offered small help. I reviewed reports they thought were finished. I asked questions that sounded simple but landed deep. I never gave answers right away. Lucas watched me more closely now. Not with respect. With suspicion. He could feel something shifting, but he could not see it. One evening, my father asked how I survived on so little. I said I had learned to live without expectations. He nodded, satisfied. That answer matched the version of me he preferred. At home, I read the first valuation report alone. Line by line. Asset by asset. I did not react. I did not smile. The number was large, but the power was not in the size. It was in the timing. I closed the folder and locked it away. Silence was still my strongest weapon. Lucas began making mistakes. Not loud ones. Quiet ones. The kind that rot a structure from the inside. He trusted people who praised him. He ignored people who warned him. My father defended him every time. I watched. I documented. I waited. At family dinners, Lucas talked louder. He interrupted more. Confidence always grows sharp before it breaks. My mother asked me once if I felt jealous. I looked at her and said no. That was the truth. I had moved past wanting what they valued. What I wanted now was clarity. Aaron warned me again. He said families do not forgive exposure. I told him forgiveness was not the goal. I contacted Thomas Hale through an intermediary. Same lawyer. Same building. He remembered my parents well. He did not remember me at all. That pleased me. I told him a review was coming. He asked whose. I said that would become clear. That night, I slept deeply. Not from peace. From control. My father's health declined faster than expected. Doctors spoke in careful tones. My mother cried in quiet rooms. Lucas panicked, but only about what would happen next. I stayed close enough to be seen, far enough to remain unreadable. My father asked me to sit with him one afternoon. He talked about regret in general terms. Not mine. Never mine. He asked if I was angry with him. I said anger required hope. He did not understand that answer. Before I left, he said Lucas would inherit everything soon. He said it like a reassurance. I nodded like it mattered. Outside, I called Thomas. I told him to prepare documents. He asked what kind. I said restructuring. He paused. Then he agreed. The valuation firm sent an update that evening. Revised. Expanded. Higher. I closed my laptop slowly. They still thought I was watching from the floor. They did not realize I was already above them, waiting for gravity to do its work. The meeting was scheduled quickly. My parents assumed it was routine. Lucas assumed it was damage control. No one asked why I had been included. I arrived early again. Same chair. Same wall. Same smell of old paper and coffee. Some places never change. People do. When my family entered, Lucas joked about lawyers being expensive. My father smiled weakly. My mother touched my arm like I might disappear. Thomas began speaking carefully. He reviewed the company's position. He asked questions that made Lucas tense. He paused often, letting silence do damage. Then he slid a folder across the table. Not to my father. To me. Lucas laughed. My mother frowned. My father froze. Thomas said my name clearly. He said I was the owner of the assets under review. The room shifted. Air thickened. I opened the folder slowly, and let the numbers speak. My father read the first page twice. My mother stopped breathing. Lucas stopped smiling. Thomas explained the valuation in plain words. He did not rush. Each sentence landed like weight added to a chest. Lucas said it had to be wrong. Thomas said it had been verified. Independently. Repeatedly. My father asked how long. I said long enough for them to stop looking at me. My mother asked why I never told them. I said they had already decided who I was. I had respected that decision. Thomas cleared his throat again. He said there was another document. A simple one. One signature required. He slid it forward. My father stared at it. His hands shook harder than before. I did not pressure him. I did not threaten. I did not explain. I had learned something important over the years. People sign faster when they understand they are already too late. My father did not sign that day. He asked for time, which was another way of asking for mercy. Thomas nodded and collected the papers. The meeting ended without resolution, but the damage was already done. Outside, Lucas exploded. He accused me of planning everything. He said I waited like a snake. His voice shook. Not with anger. With fear. I told him the truth. I said he never noticed me because he never thought he had to. That silence followed us all the way to the parking lot. My mother cried that night. She called and asked if this was punishment. I said no. Punishment is loud. This was consequence. At home, I reviewed contingency plans. If my father refused to sign, I would still win. It would just take longer. Time had never scared me. What scared them was not losing money. It was realizing they had misjudged me for years and built their future on that mistake. Lucas tried to move first. He rushed decisions. He called emergency meetings. He pressured staff. Fear made him reckless. I watched from a distance and recorded everything. My father grew quieter. His pride was fighting his survival. I did not help him choose. My mother asked if we could talk alone. She said they never meant to hurt me. She said they thought I was weak. I looked at her and said, "You didn't think. You decided." That ended the conversation. Thomas updated me daily. Vendors were nervous. Banks were watching. The longer my father delayed, the worse it looked. Lucas came to my apartment unannounced. He asked me what I wanted. I said clarity. He laughed bitterly. He said I already had power. I told him power was not the point. Understanding was. He left without shaking my hand. The second valuation arrived quietly. It was higher. Much higher. It included everything I had built while they ignored me. Every shadow they never looked into was now measured and labeled. Thomas suggested presenting it gently. I said no. My father collapsed that same week. Not fully. Just enough to remind him of limits. At the hospital, he asked me to promise I would protect the family. I told him I already was. Just not the way he expected. Lucas stood outside the room, pale and silent. He finally understood what it felt like to be unnecessary. I scheduled the final meeting. No delays. No emotion. Just the end. The room felt smaller this time. Thomas laid out the documents in a new order. Control structures. Ownership transfers. Long-term authority. Everything legal. Everything final. My father read slowly. My mother whispered prayers. Lucas stared at the table. Thomas explained that this version left no room for reversal. One signature. Permanent. My father asked me if I hated him. I said hate requires closeness. He had never been close to me. That broke him. His hand hovered over the pen for a long time. Then he signed. The sound was soft. But something old died in that room. Lucas stood up like he had been struck. He accused my parents of choosing me over him. My mother cried harder. My father said nothing. He had nothing left to give. Lucas turned to me and asked how long I had planned this. I said I had planned nothing until the day they erased me. Thomas collected the papers. He shook my hand once. Firm. Respectful. When we left the building, my family walked behind me. Not beside me. I did not turn around. I had waited years to feel this moment. Not victory. Finality. After the signature, nothing exploded. That was the part Lucas never understood. He expected shouting. Arguments. A fight he could still win. Instead, things became very quiet. I took control without ceremony. Meetings happened on time. Decisions were written, not debated. People adjusted quickly. They always do when survival depends on it. Lucas kept his position, but his authority was gone. He reported to me now. Every approval passed through my desk. He hated it, but he followed the rules. Hunger makes people obedient. My father stopped coming to the office. His body healed slowly. His pride never did. My mother stayed close to him, like guarding a wound. They watched me carefully now, as if I might disappear again. I did not. I stayed exactly where they had forced me to stand. Just higher. Lucas tried to prove himself. He worked late. He copied my habits. He spoke less and listened more. It would have impressed me if it had not come years too late. One night, he asked how I learned to wait so long. I told him I had no choice. Being ignored teaches patience faster than praise. He nodded, ashamed. My parents invited me to dinner. The table felt wrong. Too many empty words. My father apologized without excuses. That was new. I accepted it without comfort. Forgiveness was not something I owed them. Peace was enough. The company grew stronger under structure. Profits stabilized. Staff turnover slowed. Outside partners stopped asking questions. Control does that. Lucas made fewer mistakes. My father stopped offering advice. My mother stopped asking if I was happy. One afternoon, I found the envelope of cash she had given me years ago. Still untouched. I returned it to her without comment. She cried quietly. I felt nothing. Time changed how people remembered the past. My parents began speaking as if they had always believed in me. I never corrected them. Lies need an audience. I was no longer listening. Lucas stopped resenting me and started respecting me. That was worse for him. Respect lasts longer. At night, I thought about the version of me they broke. The one who nodded and thanked them for nothing. He felt distant now. Like a stranger I had outgrown. I rewrote every system they had built on assumption. No favoritism. No inheritance without proof. No power without accountability. My father asked why I was so strict. I told him structure protects people from their worst instincts. He understood that too late. The final audit closed clean. Thomas congratulated me. He said patience like mine was rare. I said patience was easier when you had already lost everything once. He nodded. Lucas watched from across the room. Smaller now. Quieter. My parents aged faster after that. Not from illness. From awareness. They saw every place they had misjudged me. Regret settles heavy when there is no one left to blame. My mother asked once if I loved them. I said love was complicated. Truth was simpler. I stood alone in my office late one night. City lights below. Silence around me. I thought about the first signature. The one that erased me. How calm they had been. How certain. I smiled once. Not from joy. From symmetry. Lucas came to me before the annual review. He asked if he would ever be free of this shadow. I told him shadows disappear when people stop standing in front of light. He understood. They once thought I had nothing. No future. No value. No strength worth backing. They signed their decision without fear. Years later, another signature ended that belief. I never raised my voice. I never asked for fairness. I never warned them. I let them think they had broken me. And when the moment came, I let the numbers finish what silence started. If this story resonated with you, I'd be grateful if you'd subscribe to this channel for more true stories like this one. Leave a comment below, telling me what you would have done in my situation. I read every single one. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Your share might save someone's life. Thank you for staying with me until the very end. I know this wasn't an easy story to hear, and I want to be honest with you, some of the stories that follow contain fictionalized elements created for educational purposes. If that's not something you're comfortable with, feel free to explore other content that suits you better. But if you're willing to learn from real experiences, even painful ones, I'll be here sharing what I've learned. God bless you. And remember, protecting what is yours is never an option.